Hello and welcome to the Nova Show Real Estate Records. My name is Tristan Hammett and I am your host for today's episode. And today we are spotlighting Boo Maddox, a powerhouse team lead in Utah County. With over a decade in the industry, Boo's leadership has driven his team to 254 transactions in a year and 1,000 across 2 offices in 2024. What we call the Boo effect. As host of the Future Agent podcast, he's shaping the future of real estate. Get ready for a game-changing insight and let's dive in.
Game changing feels a little strong, but hopefully we can do something.
Game-changing.
Game-changing.
Game-changing. All right, so I just met Boo. Actually, I met you at the NAREP event first.
Yeah.
We got to, I kind of met you there, and then I've seen you a couple times. We've had very short conversations, so I'm really excited to get to know you along with everyone else. So, Boo,
Yes.
tell us about yourself. Where are you from? And how did you get into the real estate industry?
Yeah, Utah County boy, born and raised, grew up here, grew up in Highland. Don't really know anything else other than real estate. I was raised in the world of real estate. Some of my earliest memories are walking around a brokerage with my dad early on. That's what a lot of the inspiration I have for being here today is. And so for me, real estate has always been what I knew I was going to do. And so I started at 21. I started in mortgage lending, did that for 3 years.
Wait, I did not.
I did. Yeah, did it for 3 years. Realized I like the people side more than I like the number side.
Okay.
So I switched over to selling, sold for, can I say Edge Homes? Is that allowed? It's not called marketing. We're not marketing yet. Sold for Edge Homes for 7 years, quit in July of 2023. And then about 90 days later, I joined the team that I am currently at.
Okay. So it's one of the largest teams.
Yeah.
It's the largest team in Utah.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I don't know if it's the largest. We sell more than everybody else does.
Okay.
I doubt that there's a team that's larger than us at this point.
Okay.
But yeah, number 1 team at our brokerage in all 3 major categories, number 11 team in the nation. So we're very proud of what we're building here.
Wow. Okay. So you are now a team leader in Utah County.
Yeah.
And what spiked this interest of becoming a team leader? Is it because you needed to expand in Utah County, or tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I fell into it, but when I joined the team that I am currently on, it was not with the intention of being a team leader. It was with getting back into production. And I felt like the systems, the business that this team had in place before I joined was a spot where I could get in and get back into the high levels of production that I was at when I was selling for Edge. And so I joined, was on the team for about a month, and then the owner of the team and I sat down and were like, okay, what would it look like if we did want to expand potentially into Utah County? And so it kind of just happened organically.
Okay.
It was very important for me to leave Edge without having any idea what I was going to go and do. So I quit before I was probably ready because I wanted to go out the correct way, in my opinion. And so for me, not knowing what I was going to go and do was super important to honor that. And so for me, when I joined, it wasn't to be a team lead, and yet here we are.
And get curious. Okay, and I do have to say, I've sat in one of your meetings, and you are a great leader.
I appreciate that.
You're very open, honest, transparent with your team, and I think there's a lot to say in that. I feel like when you lead like that, people, they obviously trust you.
Yeah.
Right? You have a lot of trust with them and they trust you and you're guiding them. And I won't get into specifics about what you were saying, but I was just like, that's a really good leader. And just the way that you present and you talk, and it's very engaging, and you had a lot of great information to share.
Well, I appreciate that because like I said, this is a new role. My entire life has been based around production. So whenever I wanted to make more money, I just go sell more houses.
Yeah.
And this has been very different, but it's been a lot of fun because when I knew it was time to leave, I was representing the seller. My wife, who's on the team now, brought me a buyer.
Okay.
And so we were getting ready to get paid on both sides of the transaction. Should have been best case scenario. And she looked at me and she goes, this was like right after we set the contract. She goes, I feel like you don't even care. And it was this moment where I had to sit there and just realize the joy, the excitement that I used to have when I was setting an offer is gone. And it was a scary place to find myself because that had always been my favorite part of the business. I think that's the favorite part for a lot of agents. And that joy and that excitement that I used to get has come back from seeing my agents succeed.
Yeah.
And it has just been incredible. And then to me, I think that there's a lot of leaders in this world that would succeed more if they were more vulnerable. Because I think what you ask when you're in leadership is you have an agent come in, you say, hey, I want you to be vulnerable with me and tell me why your business isn't working. And if I'm unwilling to do that in front of everybody when I'm speaking in a training or a team meeting or whatever, it's impossible for me to expect them to be that with me.
Yeah, and you said something in that meeting. You said, on this team, there are no secrets.
We don't do secrets.
Yeah.
I have never seen an agent that gate kept something that was really, really good at what they do. In my experience, there has been times where people have come to me and said, hey, what are you doing that's working? And the only thing that I've ever got out of sharing that is I have learned more about myself and the practices and the methods that I was using. So we don't do secrets. Like I have very few quote unquote fireable offenses in here. But if one of my new agents was to walk up to one of my experienced agents and be like, hey, will you show me how you do open houses? If that agent was to be like, nah, no, that's kind of my secret, I would dismiss that agent.
But
It's that important.
yeah, that's huge. I love that. And it creates more of a collaborative
Completely.
environment and a better culture that everyone can thrive in. So I really just respected that when I listening to you and I'm like, she's this good. And I love that. So, and it makes the newer agents feel like um they can ask without being scared, right? Because there's a lot to learn in this industry. Every transaction is different and it's scary because I mean, you think you're asking a dumb question and when in reality most people probably have the same question. So, I really admired that about you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, okay, being born and raised in Utah County, has that helped you? How has that helped you in your real estate business?
I think number one is obviously knowing the market, understanding the difference between East Lehigh and West Lehigh. That's part of why we wanted to open this office at this team that I am on, because for us, we think that what a lot of brokerages and teams in Utah are missing right now is the hyper local focus. And so I think where it helps me the most is that I am very, very, I know Utah County. I know the difference between Vineyard and Orem because there's a big difference. And I think that that's what an agent is going to need in order to succeed in the coming years here in Utah. And for whatever reason, it's not being taught and trained on in brokerages across the state. And I think it just is the way that we have been practicing real estate has been you cover from Logan to Payson and you cover from Tooele to Heber and you take everything in between. And if you look at other markets that are similar to ours, they don't transact like that. A Denver agent doesn't transact like that. An Austin market doesn't transact like that. A Dallas, a San Francisco, a Los Angeles. And so I think that's the biggest advantage is that I know the nuance of Utah County better than those that were not raised here.
Yeah. Okay. And so you can help better, like, tell them about the neighborhoods and everything that's up and coming. Because there's some pretty big
It has
things that have been
changed.
coming.
It has changed dramatically over the last 32 years that I've been living here. And so to be able to explain that, articulate it, explain why is East Lehigh way more expensive than West Lehigh? Like to be able to explain that to people, you can't just pick that up by coming and selling here for a year.
Hmm. Okay. So, um, so being, do you, okay, because you're younger and you got into this young.
I'm 31.
Yeah. And you're in this pretty young. And then how has it been like with purchasing homes, like for or helping? Sorry, let's start over. How is that, Dan? Yeah, cut that, Daniel. Okay. How has it been trying to help your friends who are your same age, you know, trying to get their foot into real estate because it's a more challenging time right now?
Yeah, it's been interesting because the stuff that you have to battle is years of what their parents think the real estate market is. When my parents moved to Highland 25 years ago, they paid $349 for their acre lot and a 5,000 square foot house wrapped in brick, stunning. It's an incredible house that probably would sell for close to $2 million today.
Wow.
And so now the challenge is I am selling condos and townhomes to all of the kids that I went to Lone Peak High School with for almost double what their parents paid for their house in Highland. And so being able to educate people as to why that's the case, as to why you'll never be able to buy an acre in Highland for under 350 without a house, being able to articulate that has been fun to navigate, but it definitely has been challenging because people feel like they're overpaying.
Mm.
And so being able to hopefully teach and show people why it's not an overpaying has been a fascinating exercise.
Okay, I love that. And so you're actually helping them by educating them on why it's good to just get in, even if it's a condo or a townhome.
Yeah.
It's a stepping stone. I love that. And then because realistically, too, your first home is not going to be your forever home.
It's not, and it's not going to get any cheaper. Like if you look at all of the numbers, if you look at everything that we have going positively in Utah, that townhome's not going to get more affordable. That condo's not going to get more affordable. The house that your parents bought in Highland is never going to be what they paid for it 25 years ago,
Yeah.
even with a catastrophic drop in the market.
Wow. Okay, so how would you like if I'm your friend and I'm just trying to buy your first home, what does that first appointment look like? Like I know you're looking at like my like the credit, my job history and things like that. Do you kind of vet them before you send them over to the lender? Like when do you get your lender involved? Because I do know that your lender partnership is very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to do as little of the lender's job as possible. I instruct all of our agents out here that you need to know enough about lending to get yourself into trouble, but not enough that you're explaining the job.
Okay.
So I have, and this is where I'm going to disagree with the majority of the real estate agent community. I don't really get people pre-approved before I start showing them houses. I think in today's market, if somebody is willing to go up against interest rates, to go up against political turmoil, to go up against inflation, to go up against everything that exists in the marketplace today, they have a very good idea about what it takes to qualify. And so for me, I will get the lender involved when we start to get the momentum, but I like to try to get that momentum started first. So I would first start off, I think what buyer's agents do poorly is that their approach, and I think this is why the NAR lawsuit was so beautiful. The buyer's agent approach has been, I'm going to just show you 75 to 100 houses until we find the one. And I think that that's a massive disservice to your clients. So I believe in doing a thorough buyer consultation and figuring out exactly what is important to people. And I think that one of the most important things that most buyer's agents skip over is that you need to you need to have a thorough understanding about what people are willing to compromise on and what they're not willing to compromise on.
Yes.
And there's too many people that are just like, here's a magic wand, make whatever you want to, and I'll make it happen. And that doesn't exist. And I think that this is where agents are missing the mark on what their value add needs to be. The value add 20 years ago was if you want access, Tristan, to what's available for sale on the MLS, you have to talk to me. It was a gatekeeping. That was really what the agent's value was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But with the implementation of Redfin, with the implementation of Zillow, with the implementation of some of these services that now can do the home buying searching portion for the agent and the buyer, that's not your value add anymore, and it can't be your value add.
Yeah.
And so to me, what the value add needs to be is the agent has to be really, really good at figuring out what's important to the buyer, what they're willing to compromise on, what they're not willing to compromise on, and then helping them find a solution for that.
Wow, such a good answer. That's great advice. Okay, now on the seller side, what are you seeing out there, either yourself or your agents? What are you seeing out there if somebody's wanting to sell right now in this market?
I think the biggest thing that sellers are up against right now is, statistically speaking, the majority of interest rates in the state of Utah are locked under 4%. And so how do you figure out what their motivation is? And I think for most sellers, it always comes down to one of two things. It's either current dissatisfaction or future promise, what they're going to be potentially moving into. And I think in 2019, 2020, when I was actively selling, the majority of people were buying based off of future promise. They can upgrade, their monthly payment would only go up a couple $100 and they could get everything that they wanted to. Today, it has to be based around the current dissatisfaction. What is not working in your current living situation? And that needs to be the focus of what you're trying to alleviate in whatever comes next. But once again, the same conversation has to take place because there is going to have to be compromise. I tell everybody that it doesn't matter if you're buying a $5 billion house or not, you're going to have to compromise on something. It could be an indoor basketball court versus a helipad on the top of the house.
Yeah.
There is going to have to be a compromise of some sort unless you're Jeff Bezos and you have an unlimited budget. But other than that, the majority of people are going to have to compromise on something. And I think hitting sellers directly in the head with that right now is of the utmost importance.
So really listening to the needs and the compromises
Yeah.
that your sellers and buyers are willing to have because your first time home shopping is so exciting, but at the same time, realistically, like, let's just get you ready for like this stepping stone in this first part in your journey.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of agents that are unwilling to have hard conversations with people. They're unwilling to have direct conversations with people.
Yeah.
And that's what our job has to be. Our job has to be to figure out what the real problem is, diagnose the problem, and then come up with a solution for the problem.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about marketing.
Okay.
How do you stay top of mind with your family and your friends?
To me, I think there's the misconception because of the team that I'm on and how we approach things that social media is the only thing that I care about. Social media is the only thing I care about because it's simply the easiest way to get in front of more people.
Yes.
And I think what so many agents need to tweak in their mind is what a social media win is. And I think there's a lot of people that expect to put a 3-bed, 2.5-bath townhome in Lehigh up on social media and immediately get a DM from somebody saying,
Done.
perfect. That's the house that I want. Send me the contract. I'm in. And then if that doesn't happen, then they get discouraged and they stop with social media. That's not what a social media win is in my eyes. To me, what a social media win is somebody that you haven't seen in 5 years, somebody that you haven't seen since high school. You run into them at the grocery store and they're like, hey, you're a real estate agent. My wife and I are actually thinking about getting ready to buy something right now. Can you help us out? That's what I think a social media win is. And until there is a better platform for getting in front of people and staying top of mind, I think social media is the easiest way to market people. And I think it's the single best CRM that exists in the marketplace. Because if somebody comments on something, if somebody responds to a DM, if somebody responds to a story of some sort, even if it's not real estate related, the algorithm will automatically feed them more of your content.
Yeah.
And so if you want to stay top of mind and stay relevant and have people thinking about you all the time, the second that they engage with you once, it's over.
About how many times a week do you post?
Just depends on the week. Depends on how controversial I'm trying to be, I guess.
Okay.
I don't think that there's any necessarily sweet spot. Like I've slowed down on posting because I've been testing a little bit with more long form.
Okay.
I
Is that
stay,
YouTube?
yeah.
Yeah.
I stay active on my stories because that's where conversion comes from conversation
Yeah.
is one of my favorite sayings. And where the conversation starts for me, the majority of time is on my stories.
It's so easy.
It's
So like, oh, boo's here. I've been there. And you just message right her. Yeah. You don't have to like go to the message. Yeah.
yeah. And I think the other thing too that agents are obsessed with right now for some reason is separate profiles. I think that absolutely needs to die in this
I
industry.
agree.
I think it's the dumbest thing that you could possibly do for your business. No offense to you, because I know that you're a title rep. So let me just preface that. I think that the only people that are going to follow a business page are people that are trying to get business from you, not the other way around. If you look at what branding trends have changed in the late 2010s, people wanted a museum style feed. They wanted it to look perfect. They wanted it to look prim and proper. They wanted it just to be a museum style feed.
Mhm.
That's gone. People buy products that they see being used. People want to work with people that they see are actively engaged in the marketplace.
When there's that connection, people gravitate towards like a connection. So if you're showing like what you're really doing and who you really are and your family or whatever it is, like your hobbies that you're doing, people connect with that rather than just like a blanket like post.
Yeah, but once again, you have to be okay with people not being okay with you.
Yeah.
And I think agents struggle with that so bad because we want to be wanted and liked by every single person out there. And so agents are afraid to put themselves out there because they feel like it will limit their buyer pool. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier as far as being a hyper-local agent. One thing that you will never hear me train on is follower count because I think follower count is completely irrelevant. The average person in Utah, for the majority of us agents, the majority of our clients are going to transact once every 5 years on average. So if you have 1,000 people that know you, that rock with you, that trust you, that follow you on social media, statistically speaking, 200 of those people are going to transact every year.
Yeah.
If you can convert 20% of those, that puts you at 40 transactions a year, which the majority of real estate agents in Utah are not doing. And so I think it's very difficult for agents to do this because when you start to go hyper local is going to be when you have to start saying no to certain portions of your business. And it feels like you're jumping into the cold plunge. It feels like you're jumping into a cold river because you're going to catch your breath and say, maybe I shouldn't take that lead in Logan. Maybe instead I should focus on Harriman. Maybe instead I should focus on Draper. Maybe I should focus on my hyper local client. And so
So what do you suggest in those situations?
start saying no to business.
Okay.
Start saying no to business. I have done very, very little transactions since I joined the team that I am currently on. And that has been very intentional because that's not what I'm really good at. Right now, I'm really good at growing our team, bringing in new agents to the team, and then new construction is my bread and butter.
Okay.
And so for us, what my focus has been from a production standpoint is going after and representing smaller builders that don't have an in-house sales team. We just signed another development last night that's 28 units in a city that's to be determined. Can't release that quite yet.
Okay.
But that's where I have spent the majority of my focus on, and I have had to say no to other business.
Yeah.
It's incredibly scary at the beginning, but once you start to see the success from it, there's no other way to do this business.
Yeah. Okay. And that kind of goes with like the quote, what you say yes to, you're saying no to something else. So just be careful what you're saying.
And most agents are unwilling to say no to business because it's so few and far between. The average real estate agent sold 2 houses last year. They don't have the luxury of saying, no, I don't want that lead 4 hours away from me. I don't want that listing 90 minutes away from me, even though they're probably doing a disservice to their clients.
Mhm. We did a case study with over 250 agents last year. We do it. It's our 3rd year doing it. And 2 of the top 5 challenges was lead generation.
Yeah.
I think that was number 2. Number 5 came in at consistency, discipline. So I definitely want to talk about those because your team,
The team that I am on currently.
the team that you're on,
Y'all
takes care of those.
Yeah.
So, well, we should above what agent try and do because it's the inverse to align.
I am very, very direct with every agent that I interview that I'm not going to train on the discipline. I am not going to train on the motivation side of this business. If I have to train you on motivation, then that means that I can't be training you on that tactile stuff that it actually takes to sell real estate. So to me, I hire that and I can train the rest.
Okay.
But part of like what we did when we started this office that I think was brilliant is we implemented quote unquote mandatory office hours from 10 to 2 every single day. And the amount of agents that have turned us down because of our office hours has been shocking to me. You are unwilling to commit 20 hours a week to being really dang good at this. Almost constant. Really dang good at this. And you're unwilling to commit 20 hours. This is not the spot for you.
Yeah.
You are going to hate me really, really quickly because, and to me, like that has been the best filter for agents because if you're unwilling to do that, you are not going to fit in here.
Yeah.
And so I don't train on, people might be motivated by what I say. I'm not here to say that one way or the other. I am not going to be David Goggins in the morning saying, Tristan, who's going to carry the boats today, Tristan? That's not what we're doing in here. If you're coming in here looking for motivation, this is not the team for you. This is not the place for you.
But you're going to teach them the tools.
I will train you on everything else.
Yeah.
I will train everything else. I will help you with lead gen. I will help you with marketing. I will help you with your systems. I will help you sell more real estate here than anywhere else can in the state. But I'm not going to train discipline.
Well, and the truth is you can't want it more than them.
Correct. And that's the thing is like, I don't need motivation. I have a wife. I have 4 kids. I have a certain type of life that I am trying to live. I have goals. I have ambitions. So if I have to train on that, we're going backwards.
Boo, I didn't know you have 4 kids.
I have 4 kids.
I've met your lovely. Okay, so let's talk about this too. And then we'll get back into the.
Yeah.
Okay, so your wife Courtney is an agent.
Yes.
On the team with you.
On the team that I am currently on.
On the team that you're currently on.
Yes.
So Courtney's with you. You guys have 4 kids.
4 kids.
What are the age ranges?
7, 5, 3, and like a year and a half.
You have littles. Those are all really fun ages.
Oh, it's where we have the time of our life.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So much fun.
All right, but let's talk about this. So first, let's talk about working with your wife.
Yeah.
How's that? How do you guys keep it like, do you ever turn off the real estate talk? No.
No. And I think that this is my curse. I don't know what it is, but because I was raised and worked for family in real estate, I don't have a line. My personal life is as interwoven, and that's why I don't think agents should have separate business pages, is because you are your business. And so for me, like there is no shutting it off. And it's been an interesting balance being, when we were both agents, it was very easy because we would just talk about our days separately. I worked over here, she worked over here, and we kind of meet in the middle and talk about stuff. where I am now the team lead and she is on the team, we have had to grow. Because when she comes in and voices frustrations about her business, I have a really hard time being husband boo and not team lead boo.
Yeah.
And so that has been an interesting dichotomy to grow over the last 9 months or so that she's been on the team.
Yeah, I bet you that's a little like it's a little switch in like
Yeah, there's
your responses
yeah,
and
I hate the term triggered, but like that's when she's like, I just wish this worked better. And I'm like, sorry. And she's like, no, I'm not. Like, you're getting defensive. Why are you getting defensive? I'm like, because that's my team. That's how we're running things.
yeah.
But it has also been very impactful because we have an agent that is implementing and doing everything that we're encouraging. And she's able to say, hey, I think that there's a better way to do this.
Okay. I love that. And then having that being able to like bounce ideas off of each other without having feelings
Completely.
hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you guys like because you've got 4 littles, so do you guys drive in separately?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we had different morning routines. I'm usually up a little bit earlier, go to the gym, and then I am adamant on helping get my kids out the door for school.
Okay.
So I drive my kids to school. That's part of why I wanted to start office hours at 10 and not 8 like some other teams and brokerages in the state do. Because for me, I don't think that that's a balanced life. I don't think it, and once again, it goes back to the motivation, discipline category. If I have to tell you, you got to be in the office at 8 a.m. because I can't trust you to run a morning schedule, it's not the right fit.
Okay.
And we have a nanny that helps.
Okay. That's awesome.
It's makes all the difference.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I love that. Okay. So back to like the lead gen part, you guys have quite a bit of that covered. Um, and how do you, because I know those leads cost money. And I know that you like are heavy on also like get your SOI, get those referrals. So if I'm a brand new agent, and let's set aside the Zillow leads. What's the first thing you're going to tell an agent to do?
I don't think
To prospect.
I don't think that you can set aside those Zillow leads because I think when you're first starting, what so many agents don't have, we went back to our statistic of 2 transactions per year for the average real estate agent.
Okay.
So if you convert at a 25% rate, that means that you had 8 total real estate conversations in the course of the year.
When you look at it like that, that's
And so how can you skill stack when you're having one real estate conversation every 1.2 months? It can't happen.
okay.
And so that's why we are a massive proponent of Zillow, because what can happen is within 60 days of you joining my team, I can put you in front of 8 to 10 real life buyers that are saying, Tristan, come and show me this house, say at 4 o'clock. So what happens is our agents, the amount of skills that they're able to, we just talked about Brian, for example. Brian joined our team last year, was not an agent prior to that. He did 24 transactions in year 1. So what does that mean? That means that Brian, according to the average, going up against the average real estate agent for the same buyer, they're competing. Brian just backed 12 years worth of experience into 12 months.
Wow.
Every single month that Brian did, he did an equivalent to a year of the average real estate agent. So first things first, I would find a team that is offering leads that are good leads. And I think that this is an important distinction to make because there's a lot of teams that say we offer leads, but what they're really offering you is a list of old crap leads that are saying, hey, go and call through this. And if you get anything out of it, you owe me 50%. Those are not the leads that we're providing. The leads we're providing is a buyer calling and saying, hey, I need an agent to show me this house today at 4 o'clock. Completely different. Number 2, I think that you need 3 specific lead sources. Number 1, you need a paid lead source, which we cover for everybody. Number 2, you need an activity-based prospecting method. So that is one of 3 categories: door knocking, open houses, or cold calling. It is an activity that you are doing to generate leads that can kick you a deal in the next 90 days. So I require all of my agents that are new to have that picked, which one they're going to do prior to me turning on the Zillow switch for them.
Okay.
Third, and this is where so many agents completely miss the mark, is you have to have your organic lead source. That's the one that's going to take you anywhere from 12. It doesn't matter what team, whatever that you join, it will take anywhere from 12 to 24 months to generate that, to the point where that's consistently a big portion of your business. So that's identifying and becoming that hyperlocal agent. And for me, for the organic, social media is the tip of the spear.
Wow. That's awesome. I didn't know any of this about the team. And what a way to look at that with Brian, for instance. Like I've never, I know what Zillow leads are, but to look at it in that aspect, It's a game changer.
It's insane. So now what's going to happen is Brian's entering year 2 in this business. And year 2 is when you're really going to start to be able to push some of those. And Brian sold, I think, 6 or 7 SOI transactions last year. But this is the year where you're really going to start to see those come out of the woodwork because we've been working on it for a year. So now what's going to happen is Brian's conversion rate is going to be significantly higher because Brian, at this point, I would deem as an expert. Brian has done 5 years, 6 years, 7 years worth of transactions relative to the average real estate agent in Utah. He will smoke 85% of those agents.
That's awesome. That's incredible. Oh, wow. Okay. So let's talk about the consistency part. So, like, as a team leader, what are you seeing? Like, obviously, you have the hours that you said change kind of everything. Um, how do you feel like I don't know how to ask this question. So, with discipline, it's people not sticking to their schedules.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the reasoning behind that?
It's a great question. We are,
Like, it's time management.
it's time management, but everybody gets into real estate to be their own boss. That's the selling point. That's the selling feature is that you get to come in here and you get to be your own boss. But what happens is everybody turns into a little yes man the second that a lead calls them and says, hey, can you go and show me this house? So if you look, the real estate agents that make it for, let's say, 3 or 4 years, their business is incredibly wavy because what happens is they don't have anybody. So they start prospecting and they prospect like crazy for 60 to 90 days. And then they get a couple of leads because they prospected. And then those leads end up turning into clients. And then those clients turn into transactions. And for 60 days, they focus on those transactions. Those 1 or 2 transactions close. And then what happens?
The back at the
The
bottom.
drop off.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're like,
They let off the gas.
then, and I tell agents this on a weekly basis. If you're going off of closings to determine if you had a successful day in this business, Brian, who was one of our top brand new agents, is going to have 24 days that were really awesome in this business and 340 something days that sucked. That's not what a good day is. And we try to switch that and give proper context for our agents in here. And what a good day is if you filled the top of the funnel, not what came out the bottom of the funnel. And the top of the funnel is your lead gen and your prospecting. And so for us, that is going to be the focus for our agents to determine if they had a good day or not. Did you make your calls? Even if all you did was have conversations with people about real estate that day, trust the process that those prospects, those leads will turn into clients, those clients will turn into transactions. But there's so many agents, I use the funnel analogy in here all the time. They use a funnel, but then what they do is they take the funnel out all the time to try to see if it's working or not. They're looking to see what's coming out of the bottom instead of just paying attention to what they put into the top. What you put into the top is your prospecting. So going back to our wave analogy that we were talking about, the first thing that goes out the window when a buyer calls you to go and show something is prospecting. That's the first thing that always goes away from people's business.
Okay, so how do you balance the two then? Because I was smiting because I heard this from multiple agents. Like they get to one client and they're like, oh no, I have this client. And it's like, okay, well, but how do you balance the two? Like having a transaction or 2 or 3 at a time and also prospecting.
That's why we have the office hours. From 10 to 2, you should be spending your time prospecting and following up. If you don't have anybody to follow up with, what should you be doing for 4 hours? Prospecting. And inevitably, if you prospect for long enough, you will have people to follow up with, and those follow-ups will turn into active clients. But there's too many people that forget to do that. To me, I have been asked hundreds of times what the silver bullet is in real estate. This is the silver bullet. This is I was sold in my first 6 months, I sold 58 houses. The next year I sold 60. The next year I sold 75. The next year I sold 204. What was the silver bullet to all of that is it didn't matter how many I sold yesterday, how many I put under contract the week before, that prospecting stayed the same.
Wow.
That prospecting doesn't change. And the second that prospecting changes is when you get those waves in your business because you're going to have a really good day. You're going to show up to the office the next day and you're going to be like,
Starting over.
I have nothing going on.
Yeah.
So that what do agents do? They start prospecting like crazy. They prospect, get a couple more leads, and then that wave starts all over again. And then after 18 months of doing that, they're like, why am I burned out? Why is this not working? Why do I hate this? It's because every time you find yourself down here instead of up here, which, as we just established, is 2 days a year on average for the average real estate agent, 363 days right here. Just doesn't work.
So what I'm hearing is the secret sauce is
The
consistency.
silver bullet is consistency.
Yeah. And that's what so many people get hung up on. They want to know like another way of marketing or another way of this, but it's like whatever you want to do, your prospecting method, if it's door knocking, if it's open houses, whatever it is, social media, whatever it is, you have to be consistent at it.
You have to. And that's why there's 2 ways to evaluate what is working in your business and what's not. The first way is strictly by the analytics, by the numbers. I cold called for an hour and I got this many leads. I door knocked for this long and I got this many leads. I threw an open house for this long and I got this many leads. But to me, that's the second best way to review something. I think the best way to review something is energetically. Which one of these things can I do day in and day out, rain, shine, snow, cold, warm, windy, whatever? Which one of these energetically vibes with me that I can do on a consistent basis? Because consistency will win over massive action every day of this job.
Yeah, I always say like like for me personally, if I was an agent, like I would not cold call. I'd be like, nope, that's not my jam, and I'd make every excuse not to do it.
Yep.
And then therefore it's not going to get done.
Yeah.
And therefore I'm not going to have business.
Right.
know.
And so you have to find what works for you.
Yeah.
And I am very, very careful with the team that I am currently on not to tell people how to run their business. This job is amazing because there's a million different ways to do this job. And so for me, I think if I was to say, no, we are a door knocking team, we are a cold calling team, we are a open house team, it would never work because that would work for 1/3 of my target demographic.
Right. My gosh, such good stuff, Boo.
I appreciate it.
Okay. I know you've got big plans. So what do you see, like where do you see yourself in 1, 5, or 10 years?
I have no idea.
No idea.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea. I try to take stuff kind of a year at a time. Like I have goals that I want to accomplish within the year.
Can you
And
share
I-
those?
Yeah, I want this team to have, in this office specifically, I want to be at 120 agents before the end of the year.
Okay.
Number 2 is I want to have 150 new build listings under representation from our team.
Okay.
And then the third, I want to help my wife. Like we're going to kind of partner up. We have teamed up together just for all those deals that I say no to. It works really well to have her on the team. And I just say, here you go. I want her to sell somewhere between 20 and 25 million.
Wow. She'll do it.
Oh, she absolutely
Yeah.
will. She's very good at what she does.
I love that. You just know all your numbers.
Those are the goals. Yeah.
Okay. And then actually I know I skipped ahead, but now I kind of want to go back. How you are really good at knowing your statistics and numbers and everything. How do you stay on top of that?
It's just something you have to put time into. I had this conversation with an agent yesterday. He said, I've been making cold calls. And I said, okay, show me the numbers. And he's like, well, I can't. My argument is you'd be better to make 10 less cold calls every single day and actually track your numbers and know what is working and what's not. That to me is like, I am all about efficiencies. My wife used to refer to them as shortcuts, and I had to correct her and say, no, it's about efficiencies. And you cannot find those efficiencies without numbers. That's why I think social media, that's another big plug for social media. If you operate under the assumption that you are making content for your target market and you're talking about interest rates and your video gets 4 seconds of watch time on average, do you think that that skill translates to real life when you're sitting face to face with somebody and you want to lecture them about interest rates? Do you think that they're going to zone out after 4 seconds too? I do.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think social media is such a powerful tool, is because of the analytics and the numbers that it gives you. But if you can figure out a compelling way in 30 to 45 seconds to explain why interest rates are what interest rates are today, and it works on social media, will it work in real life? It absolutely will.
Wow. Okay. All right. And kind of like wrapping this up here, unless you have something else that you'd like to.
I think we've covered a lot.
We have covered a lot. This is awesome. What advice would you give a new agent?
Join a team. I am the biggest team stan that has ever existed. It doesn't even have to be my team. Like we would love to have you, don't get me wrong, but I think joining a team is the single best thing. My prediction is in the next 10 to 15 years, the team model is going to be the one that most people go to. I don't know why. I'm still learning this side of the business, but there is a massive, I don't even know how to describe it. Am I allowed to say sex appeal?
Yeah.
For some reason, being a solo agent that's doing it all on their own is the sexy thing to do.
Yeah.
And for me, as somebody that has sold on a team for 7 years and now runs a team, I made more money running a team, getting paid no better than 66.34. I made more than every single solo agent that operates in the state of Utah.
Wow.
I brought home more money net than every single one of them did. And for whatever reason, teams get looked down upon. And agents like a Brian that sold 24 last year is like, yeah, but you're on a team. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? Our average on our team last year, we already established that the average real estate agent in Utah sold 2 houses last year. The average on our team sold 8.5 homes last year. So if you look at it by the numbers, even if you're getting paid 50% of your commission, you still made double what the average real estate agent did. And for some reason that gets lost in the glitz and the glamour of being a solo agent.
Yeah.
Join a team.
I'm a huge advocate for joining a team when you're first getting in. Hopefully you're on the right team and you're around a lot of people that are producing. You're hearing the conversations, you're seeing all the activities that need to be done in order to succeed. You're in the team meetings, you have some sort of accountability, right? Not all teams, but some teams have, like for you guys, it's the 10 to 2 and coming in here, like you have that accountability. You have people that you can bounce ideas off of.
What I mean, even the accountability comes from people on our team. If you're like, hey, the market sucks, but Brian just sold 4 in a month, you're going to have a really hard time justifying that argument to anybody around you.
Good point.
So it's not even just the accountability that you're going to have a team lead saying, do this, do this, do this, do this. It's the people in the room that are absolutely crushing.
Oh, Brian's actually in the same market.
Brian's taking the same leads. He's getting the exact same buyers. He's on the same splits in the same market. What is your excuse?
Yeah.
And I think that's really tricky.
And what do you think that is? Do you think it's a skill set?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a consistency and a discipline. Brian is one of our best agents when it comes to the amount of time that he puts into this.
Okay.
Real estate, like I said, we've talked about it being beautiful. Why do I think real estate is absolutely beautiful? Because there's people that I've looked at, I'm like, you're the weirdest person that I have ever talked to. And yet you're still selling 40 or 50 houses a year. Why? Because they found their people that they gravitate towards. And just because my context and my perception is that they're weird, they're very normal to their people.
Yeah.
So what's the commonality between the two of us? It's the amount of time that we're willing to put into this job.
I love that. Well, I appreciate you so much. It was so fun getting to know you.
Of course.
I feel like now we're like homies.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always. Okay, cool. And then where can people follow you?
Social media, boo_Maddox. The Boo Maddox? I don't know.
Okay.
Look me up. You can see the team that I am currently on because we're not allowed to talk about it here. But
Awesome. I appreciate you.
of course.
And this has been a lot of
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please rate us, like us, and share this podcast with our real estate community. The Nova Show Real Estate Record, sharing raw stories of real estate, failures, lessons, wins, and successes. This is all from Novation Title, bringing a different experience into your world so that we can all uplift each other. Until next time.